Hello and welcome, student. Hope you have seen the video from for the towns, traders and craftsmen. This is the second video. So during the medieval period from the 12th to the 18th century is the main important period. India was prosperous and well governed. The Cholas, the Delhi Sultans, the Mughals, they were all trying to develop and had a well governed empire that brought in stability and progress. All these factors encouraged the growth of town, trade, and commerce flourished and villages grew into towns. So new towns were also developed by the Delhi Sultans and Mughals. So we can understand very easily 12th to the 18th century, India was a prosperous and well-governed country, and new towns were developing during this period. And the important sources of this period, how do we came to know that within 12th to 18th century these towns and cities were developed with the help of these foreign travelers' records such as Niccolo Conti, Marco Polo, Duarte Barbosa, and Ralph Fitz. So, who have left valuable information about this period. And Mughal documents were also there. So, let's see how the towns developed. Sometimes towns developed out of a large village, which had a wholesale market, mandi, or where occasionally or weekly market huts or fairs, melas were held. This became a commonplace. So you all know that weekly market, know about weekly market known as huts, fairs, mela used to be held. Wholesale market is there, and this became a commonplace for merchants, both buyers and sellers who gathered here to trade. Some towns became trade centers, especially during the reign of Jahangir and Shah Jahan. So let's see first, before going to the towns develop, let's see these types of towns. So towns were classified into various types, okay, according to the nature of their function, that means the nature of their village. If it is a craft village, then it will be a craft center, like that. If there are many temples are there in the cities, then temple towns, like that. So there were temple towns, craft towns, commercial towns or business related, capital towns as it was a capital, and pilgrimage towns, okay. But sometimes a single town combined many functions and served as a temple town as well as a trading center of cotton and jewelry. One such town was Thanjavur, the capital city of Chola. Thanjavur not only act as a temple town but also act as a capital town and administrative town, also a pilgrimage town. So let's see the capital town. Capital towns were magnificent and become important as the kings lived and held their royal courts here. As a result, they become policy making and implementing hubs and administrative centers. Foreign travelers and ambassadors visited the royal courts, and this added to the importance of the capital towns. Sometimes we could see that capital towns were shifted many times. Agra was Akbar's capital, and then Fatehpur Sikri. Even in the history of British India, we have seen that earlier Calcutta was the capital, later on Delhi became the capital in the Raisina Hill. So, which became the new capital city, gained importance, Fatehpur Sikri, okay, in Delhi. It was the capital town and also a religious town because of the Dargah of Sheikh Salim Chishti. So, another example of a capital town is Shah Jahanabad, built by Shah Jahan. Dargah, you all know, I think. Maybe a famous person died, and that tomb only people were going and um, fulfill their wishes. So, temples and pilgrimage towns. Religion played an important role in those days. Temples and pilgrimage towns gained importance because of the devotees who thronged the towns to worship their deities. Such towns created opportunities for sculptors, painters, musicians, flower shops, and people of other professions. This is we are talking about temples and pilgrimage towns, where many towns uh, were having lots of temples, and if there are lots of temples, that means it will create jobs for the temple makers, like the sculptures, like the painters, like the musician, like the flower shop, fruit shops, and many other professions. One of them was Tanjore. It was a temple city and the famous capital of the Cholas. Madurai, Tirupati, Mathura were some other examples. Benares, Allahabad, and Brindaban were famous pilgrimage towns. Similarly, Khwaja Muinuddin Chisti's Dargah, that means tomb of this, at Ajmer, made the town a hub of devotees and pilgrims. People used to come there, worship there, and go back. Then comes trading and business towns. So, from the point of view of business and trade, towns developed if they were producers of raw products or because of the presence of ports and harbors or major trade routes to foreign lands. Trading and business towns. At times, towns develop because of the craftsmanship of master craftsmen, those who crafted well goods, who trained people and taught them various skills like weaving and embroidery. That means cloth making industry they were talking about. Ahmedabad was famous for cotton and silk, whereas Hampi, Surat, and Masulipatnam were important trade centers. There were two types of commercial towns: inland trading towns and port towns. So, first of all, we have discussed about capital towns. Second, temples and pilgrimage towns. Third, trade and business towns. And now, fourth, craft towns we will discuss. Wonderful to know. You can read by yourself about Marco Polo. Craft towns. Many towns developed due to their specialized crafts. Kings and nobles who needed luxury goods encouraged the growth of craft towns. The capital city of the kingdom of Golconda, Hyderabad, was famous for gem cutting and jewels. Bidar was famous for its bidri work. Okay, these are craft towns. Luxury goods needed by kings and nobles were made by these craftsmen. Gems, cloth, bidris, and many other. Now you could see Tanjavur was a commercial town and temple town. Dargah of Khwaja Muinuddin Chisti is at Ajmer. This one you can do. Important business communities. Traders and craftsmen were important business communities. Traders and craftsmen were important business communities because they look after all the things needed by each and everyone, whether it's a rich or poor. So there are mainly two kinds of traders: big traders and small traders. The big traders were rich and owned ships and boats and even traded abroad. Abroad means they were having contact with foreign countries for business. The small traders operated locally in utility products like spices, cloth, or even crafts. That means the small traders used to buy goods from the villagers or the craftsmen, and then they were sold it to the big traders, and they used to look after the business of the uh, outside countries, that is foreign countries. Craftsmen were always patronized by the Mughals, who even encouraged the master craftsmen to conduct workshop karkhanas to train people. And traders form guilds. Guilds means association to protect their interest. These guilds laid down rules for its members to streamline policies and regulation for the benefit of all. What traders usually do? They usually travel together in large caravans, and the Banjaras were a trading group that traded in foodstuff. They generally move from place to place and taking some goods from one place to another and selling it to, or making it reach to other places. Spices and textiles were the most important items of trade. These were exported to traders on the ports of the Red Sea, Persian Gulf, Southeast Asia, and China. So that is about important business communities. Important business community is number one, big traders, small traders. Then we have seen traders guild, that is association. And if you talk about community especially, then that is Banjara. Okay, these are people who used to carry goods from one place to another, and ordered goods also. They used to take order and make it reach to other places. Like the transporters, the trucks, what they used to do, they used to carry goods from one place to another. In the same way, the Banjaras used to do it. Important towns. Hampi. The famous city of Hampi was the capital of the kingdom of the Vijayanagar Empire. A spectacular city with magnificent forts and beautiful temples, Hampi was also strategically located. It was protected by river Tungabhadra in the north and rocky granite ridges on the other three sides. The ruins of Hampi tell us its story of lost splendor and fabulous wealth. The city was planned in such a way that it was protected by forts, outlying fields, and a 20-kilometer long water channel that acted like a defense against any attack. So you could understand how Hampi was built. So you could see the ruins of Hampi, very nicely built city. Now it was in a ruins. The Hampi architecture was distinctive. Hampi enjoyed its prime position during the 15th to 16th century. It was a hub of cultural and commercial activities. So Hampi was an important cotton and spice trade center. Traders from Persia, Arabia, Burma, China, and numerous islands in the Indian Ocean visited Hampi to trade. European merchants also bought cotton and spices from Hampi. And temples were the hub of cultural activities. Archaeologists found the Mahanabami platform where the king received guests and accepted tribute. The foreigners who used to come to Hampi, the king used to stand in the Mahanabami platform, and the foreigners used to give gifts to the kings, and he accepted tribute there in the Mahanabami platform. In 1565, Hampi was defeated by the Delhi Sultans. It was from this time onwards that Hampi fell into ruins. That means the Mughals destroyed this Hampi. The magnificent city Hampi. A Portuguese traveler, Domingo Paes, described Hampi in the 16th century. At the entrance of the gate, where those pass who came from Goa, this king has made within it a very strong city fortified with walls and towers. These walls are not like those of other cities, but are made of very strong masonry, such as would be found in a few other parts, and inside very beautiful rows of building made after their manner with flat roofs. And is a magnificent city, Hampi. So that was a very interesting city. Now you could see Surat. Surat is situated on the banks of river Tapti. During the medieval times, Surat was an important port as well as a trading town, Gujarat. As a result of its strategic position, it became the gateway for trade with West Asia via the Gulf of Ormuz. Surat became a very important Mughal trading port. It also became a major overland route from Agra and Delhi. Surat was famous for its textile industry and therefore became a major center for export of textiles along with indigo and other products. The British established a trading factory in Surat in 1612. The Dutch opened the trading factory, followed by the French in 1664, and then the British came and everything was finished. So trade and commerce flourished, and in 1689, on an average, 100 ships from different countries were found to be anchored at the port at any time. So that is all about this Surat. Earlier we have discussed about the important town Hampi, then we have discussed about Surat. Later on, we will discuss about Masulipatnam. That is, Surat is situated on the banks of the river Tapti. So you can do this. And traders formed guilds, okay, to protect their interest. That's all for today. We will meet in the next class.